Getting to the heart of the matter. Back to Guy, Ben, and Frank with more Inside the News.
Welcome back to more of a domestic segment here on Inside the News. We've got Frank Vernuccio, we've got Ben Brunson, myself, Guy Wehman, and all three of us, we've witnessed something this past week where in Escondido, California, Daryl Isis asked families of those Marines that lost their lives in Afghanistan in that pullout with that bomb to speak and just get some things off their chest, and kind of a cathartic moment for each and every one of them. But they all had a same theme, that they blamed the people of the Defense Department, the commander-in-chief, they mentioned him, and that they want just basic answers. They want the truth, but yet it broke all of our hearts. Ben, you go first.
Yeah, I guess there's really something in this story. If you watch this administration, which claims to this day that their handling of the exit from Afghanistan was flawless, it was a great success, contrary to the way everyone else on the planet views it. It was obviously an utter failure. It was horribly managed. You don't pull out the military, then worry about the civilians. You do it the other way around. And we have a president who, the one time I'm aware of, he showed the normal presidential duty of meeting fallen soldiers returning from a combat zone at Andrews as they pulled coffins out of a C-17. He sat there and looked down at his watch, wondering when he could get the heck out of there. That's our president. So it's hardly surprising. This is such a narcissistic administration. Every day is full of patting themselves on the back at how great they are, how great Biden economics is, when 75% of the country is sure we're headed, off a cliff. So it's hardly surprising that they there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, there's no concern given to Gold Star families. These are families who have given up their children or their spouses to our enemies, and they have fought in defense of this nation as called to perform. And it really is sad that we have to watch this spectacle, but it's not surprising. It is true to form.
Frank, your thoughts on what was just really a heartbreaking moment for our country, watching these families talk and share?
What is the most, I think, probing in all of this is that this was unnecessary in terms of the Biden administration's response. Even after they bungled this disastrous withdrawal, they could have at least been nicer to the families. They could have admitted this was a mistake. Americans are very forgiving people. If the president had said, in retrospect, looking at what we did in Afghanistan, it could have been handled better. We deeply feel for the families who lost their sons and daughters in this horrible situation, and we will do better. It chose not to do so. The reason it chose not to do so, because it felt it didn't have to. The press was on their side. The total manipulation of the press by the Democratic Party leadership is a constitutional crisis in this country, and it is turning the entire concept of a free election on its head. When you have so much of the media acting simply as a shill for the Democratic Party, the whole concept of a free press, the whole concept of what it's there for in the first place, goes out the window. This whole situation really exhibits a larger problem.
Yeah, Ben, it seems like people have the question, well, why? Why? What was the rush to get out of there? Was it because of September the 11th that they wanted to do it then? But it seemed like there's a massive rush to get out of Afghanistan. What do you make of that?
Yeah, look, the president made up his mind. I don't know that I strategically disagree with the decision to, at least in the process of nation building in Afghanistan, which was, a process doomed to failure all along. However, the decisions that the military suggested a course of action, which I completely agree with, which is, look, let's retain control of Bagram. It's a huge airfield. We can defend it. It's on a plain outside of Kabul. It gives us a huge base that's very close to China, that allows us to go out and touch people that we want to touch in the area, i.e. we can go kill rising militants who threaten the United States and our interests. And this whole over the horizon concept was bunked from the beginning. So instead of listening to his military advisors, he decided, look, we're just going to pull out. We're going to have no more presence there. And he implemented it, and he ordered a timeline which didn't work, and overruled his military advisors, and it was tragic in its implementation. And we've paid a lot of price around the world for it. It was another factor which kind of gave the green light, for Putin and our enemies that, hey, we have a president who's not a strategic thinker, and he's willing to make rash decisions which are negative to the United States.
Let us even put out there that could have been the precursor when Putin saw what happened there to say, I can go and invade Ukraine now. And, they're not going to do anything about it because look how they botched that. Let's turn our voices to Kamala Harris. She's starting to speak out a little bit more, even though they're all bungled up word salads and everything, Frank, but she's starting to get her face out there and starting to speak.
That she is. Of course, the minute she opens her mouth, she tends to make things worse for herself and for her administration. She's the only person I know who, if I was in a debate with, I'd say, just let her talk, because she would kill herself in the process. Look, she didn't even get any votes in the Democratic primary. It's clear that she is not a popular figure. It's clear that she has no qualifications for the position of vice president. Yet, she is a symbol of what the Democrats do. They don't pick candidates based on their ability to help the United States, based on their ability to do the job effectively. They fill in slots. And even if you look at the way the administrations has filled in its cabinet, they seem to be filling in slots. This one is a minority. This one is gay. Doesn't matter whether they can do their job or not. They're just there to fill in the slots and appease their progressive supporters, saying, we hired this one and we hired that one. Kamala Harris is a real noose around the neck of the Democratic Party. We talked about this a bit before. They certainly want to get rid of her. She's not a great candidate, even within the party. But the fact is she's black and she's female, and that'll alienate key portions of their electorate, and they're stuck with her one way or the other.
Okay, Ben, 60 seconds. You can talk about the boat anchor, Kamala Harris.
Well, look, this administration never admits to any mistakes, but you have to believe in the privacy of the White House. They really regret having gone with Kamala Harris because she is that bad. And it puts them in a huge quandary, and Democrats in general, because they want to force Biden, as we talked about earlier, to step aside. The majority of Democratic voters are now in polling openly saying they want someone other than Joe Biden to be their standard bearer in the next election. So the party wants to dump Biden. But right now, you've got Kamala Harris as the person who's going to step up to claim the mantle, and that's even worse for the Democrats. That's a sure loss in the upcoming elections, with probably broad bad coattails. So they're in a lose-lose situation.
They could have had Amy Klobuchar, and she's a bright young gal, and she could have done that. And then Tulsi Gabbard, and then Tulsi, because what's watching on, she just says nuts to the Democratic Party. All right, we got the Fitch downgrade. We're going to talk about that. And then China and education. We're going to talk about that in our Picking Up the Pieces segment. This is Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio Inside the News. Catch us on Rumble, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Thank you to all of our radio affiliates as well. We'll be back.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.